and I am alive again. Hopefully, my Wi-Fi got kaput, broken. Now it is fine. Yep, now it is fine. And what we are doing here is we have defined a route on our Elysia object, and this route is going to be added to a resolve method, which is adding some object to the context that this handler gets. But we are not getting auto or like type correction or type benefits in this handler. So how can we get that? And there is like a way, I think, using a plugin. You can tell here context or body. We can tell what is expected of things of things in the object. And but no, we do not want that. Maybe that is the only way, but we will see. And let's follow up. Yep. Things the stream seem to be okay now. Okay, I have defined an uh, uh variadic function that takes in a bunch of Elysia instances and adds it takes in a bunch of Elysia instances and adds dot resolve method and define dot resolve method for them, which adds a new object to the context of the handler to those instances. But but since this is happening after defining those instances, I am not getting the type correction for those new objects in the context in the context of the handler. How do I get that? I think the answer would be a plugin. Use a plugin. I think. Hello. Same problem happening again. Yep, I guess it is like the light somehow flickers. Don't know what. Type safety resolve injection across multiple Elysia instances. The problem. We define a handler. User does not exist, but okay, how does bro know that I have a function named add auth? I did not tell brother that I have a function named add auth. Like that is scary. I don't think I sent here add auth. Nope, just the guard, just the router. Shit, that is scary. Solution plugin. Yes, plugin pattern. Instead of mutating instances after creation, create a plugin that creates the type information and apply it before defining routes. Before defining routes. Okay, instead of creating a fresh plugin. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense, I think. But does that make sense? So the routes which need to be authenticated, those routes will not be new Elysia instances, but rather they would be imported from other places and new methods would be added to that imported Elysia instance. Okay. And then let's say we will have a method which has, we will have a Elysia instance which has on before handle and also resolve. And if we add that new Elijah name, yes, we can name this. Yes, that yes, we will name this on before handle use auth plugin makes sense. Use auth plugin. How this works? Yep, these three will have auth plugin. Variadic helper, we can still use a variadic helper. No, we do not want to use a variadic helper at this point. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Instead of defining a new instance, import or use another instance, which is like this. And wait, why would there be a guard here? Get profile user is here because of the resolve, and guard uh, um, we have guard here, and I am sure that this is not how guard works. Yep. The first argument to guard is on before, and the second argument is a function. Yep. Second argument is a function. First is an object. So we are not actually putting guard this before handle on anything. Okay. Now there is another like problem that if I do this, then I will in the end have to separate Alicia instances where one will have a on before handler, but the other won't, and I would like to merge them into a single one so that they are accessible to the same endpoint. But this is needed with the with keeping the on before handler limited to only some to only the methods to only the endpoints defined in the instance which has the on before handler. How do we do that? Because on before handler goes to the shit on before handler goes only to the child but not the parent, I think. Because yes, on before handler only goes to the child but not the parent. I think this is one of the things that we did read about. On before handler only goes to the child and not to the parent. Life cycle handler. It is in life cycle on before handler restrict. Yep. I think it is a scope somewhere in scope it was there. Scope scopecast guard instance as there was a parent child thing. Oh, let's see this. Merge protected and public route under one endpoint. Use to compose them. The guard before handle stays scoped to the instance it was defined in. Yep. Guard on before and then resolve. protected route 1 routes, protected routes all use this settings public routes app merge them together. What happens is, okay, so this just means on before handler only passes on to the child and not to the parent. On before handler only go, yeah, passes to the child and not to the parent. Key, yes, exactly. That is very cool. That is cool. That is pretty helpful. Um, const authenticated equals new Elysia, and here authenticated dot this, add this, and here remove this. Okay, and export default authenticated. Cool. And the routes which must be authenticated, they will, yep, they don't do this. Yep, add route, and this route in which needs to be authenticated. This will not do this. This will first, before dot delete, this will say dot use authenticated, and now the user should be existing, but it does not. User does not exist, even though it should be existing. User is defined here. User is if token, then only user, which it will be there. Else return user property is not any. This function takes in this header and returns an object of type user, which, oh shit, okay. User create, yes, user create. The type of this is user create, not in here in middleware. User create, import this as a type and say that this is of type user, and this should be a promise. Pass is missing in type JWT payload. Shit, JWT payload is of type username and ID. And okay, makes sense. This is because yes, okay, cool, makes sense. Import J, which is already imported. Okay, not user create, but JWT payload. The first one is of type JWT payload. What are the properties? User ID, dummy ID, which should be a string, and user name is wrong. And now hopefully we still do not get user here, whose property user does not exist. Property user does not exist in the context, even though it should be existing in the context. That is kind of wrong. Property user should be existing. We are here adding user, USER. User, user is being returned here. So resolve, return user. And this is called a plugin. So substitute authenticated with auth plugin. And in root, import substitute authentic authenticated with auth plugin, and still nothing somehow. This is an asynchronous function, and we are returning user. Don't even have user is here. You cannot find null. Null could not be found. Null in a small case does exist. Okay. Why is user not here? And yep, user should be here. User should be here. Slash pro add auth plugin. The context should contain the user, but user does not exist. Query does exist. Params does exist. User does not exist. It's kind of messed up. Set does exist. Set dot status, or maybe I guess set a status is directly there. Yes, status is directly there. Status set 200, and user does not exist, even though we are adding auth plugin here quite directly. User of type and JWT payload. Shit. Resolve. Then what is the need for this to be a guard? Yep, what is the need for this to be a guard here? We need for the on before handler to be inside a guard here. What, yes, what is the need for that? In your case, there isn't a strict need. They do the same thing here. Yep, we can directly add on before handler without a guard. So why does guard actually do? Let's use scheme validation. Like, yep, put this here. Yep, auth logic. When you want to run logic before handler alone and guard works, attach schema validation to specific routes. We can actually remove on this guard here. On before handler takes in a function try way and this function has to be async. Cool. We have our on before handler and resolve. Why don't we have the user property here? That's kind of messed up. Here we don't have the user as part of the context even though we are adding the auth plugin. Yes. Method chaining. Most likely problem is root is defined. Root.use broken. Separate statements. Chain is it says chain based. Fix chain. Yeah. I think I know what is messed up. Here do this and okay, no, that chain is not broken. If we were to do export, or plugin like this, user should be there. If user should be there, or if you were to do auth plugin dot delete, it's still okay. Shit, now the user is there. Now the user is there. Now the user is there. So okay, that is works fine in single continuous chain. This is what we were doing, but there was problem with this. new Alicia dot use or plugin dot delete. This property does not exist. Even though this says on a single change, why each method returns a new typed instance. Each, and we are calling the new method on that. So there has to be a problem with how this is being handled. Export. Or plugin. Okay, so if we add auth plugin and then add our routes, we do not get the support that we need. But if we import the auth plugin and add our method directly onto the auth plugin, then this. And this would be a problem. This would be a problem. Why? Okay, creating a new Lydia instance and then adding the auth plugin to it, and then adding the auth plugin to it and adding the new routes to that, adding the new routes to that new plugin to that is doesn't add the user to the context, but uh, importing the auth plugin and adding the adding the new routes to that directly works. To that directly works. Yep. Why is that? Issue plugin type encapsulation. This doesn't work, but this does work. Why? Okay, yes, yeah, that makes sense. We can add a root, yep, which will get a copy of the main plugin. Okay. Why the problem is likely how auth plugin is defined. If you use guard with a callback, the resolve is scoped inside the guard, which we are not doing. Full resolve. Yes, we are doing resolve outside the guard. Const, yep, this is exactly what we are doing. And they are saying it would work with this, but nope, this is not working. Resolve is outside the guard. Yep. It's always outside the guard. There is no guard, by the way. Alicia, name off. So I guess this is how we will have to make this thing work. Okay, we will have the user info here. With a delete slash user route. And in APIs, router dot use root and export root and use it there. Okay, cool. One run back and where is postman? Hello, hello, HR Craftworks. What is the progress? So far, the progress progress report. Apart from progress, there have been learnings. Like now, I understand better this guard thing and the on before handler and what is resolve used for. So that is a cool thing. And the goal for today is to at least add authentication to the WebSockets, which we made yesterday. And also I had a discussion panel meeting with other people working on this project. And my friend suggested that we can store the moves with timestamps as a single string. Like while the game is going on, we will have a in-memory object which is going to keep track of the moves and the times at which those moves were played. And when the game ends, we will have a function which encrypts or like compresses the whole information into a single string and passes that and saves it onto the database as a single string. But then when we want to review the game, we will have a decompressor function which will read the string and convert that back into the in-memory object. On before and guard takes in callback function. They do not uh, I don't know if you would call this a callback function. I don't think you can call this a callback function. They do take in function, but I do not think you would call this a callback function. A callback function, more specifically, is the function which will run after the main task, which this function that you're saying takes in a callback function. The main task of this function is done like set timeout. Set timeout waits for some specific time, and then your callback function runs. But this does not take in a callback function. This just takes in a function. This is I think it is called higher level function. I think functions which take in functions are called higher level functions. So this just takes in a function and yep, runs with that. Runs that function before your request goes to the routes. So you can store time relatively instead of storing the whole file. The whole file, what do you mean? Time relatively instead of storing the whole file. Like you'd know when the game started, so you just add the number of seconds to it. That would be smaller to store. Uh, like we would have the format was shit. This is what we were discussing yesterday. Uh, Me and my friends. The format is like this. This is clearly visible here. The format is this. First comes the move and then the time. And time we can either store delta, which would be the time since the last move, or we can store the cumulative distance, like cumulative time, the total time since the game began, anything in the time section. And move would be of consist of two parts. First is source square and the target square. Source square, the square, the which will tell us which piece moved, and the target square where that piece moved. And this depiction of any square takes in two characters. One is the row and one is the column. Like normally we have E4 and D5 or something. Instead of these numbers, we will have, since in chess, rows, I think rows or columns, one of them is depicted by letters from A to H, and the other part from 1 to 8. We will have A to H, but for these numbers, instead of having numbers, we will have characters from I to I P, from I to P. That would depict a single square. So A4 would become, sorry, E4 would become EL, and then the target thing without a comma. And the good part about this is we would know if we have seen just letters, that is a move where exactly two characters are used to depict one square and the next two for the next square. And whatever the number is, that is the accumulative time since the game began. Time not file MB in why storing the previous position? Isn't that already stored in the previous entry? So why storing the same information twice? That is not stored in the uh how would you know? Like, so you are saying we just store the target because you are not always moving the same square. If you say, let's say you have a chess board, you have a, let's say, bishop here and a pawn here, let's say, and here is one thing, here is the target square. If you just say the piece moved to this thing, now there could be multiple pieces. A pawn could have moved here, a bishop diagonally. There could also be a knight here which could have moved here. So, and there could also be a rook here which could have moved here. So this thing is just unambiguous. When you know the source and the target, that is cool. You know exactly what piece moved and where it moved. So that's cool. And if we were to like do some compressing, which is actually not needed, compressing to save some bytes of storage here, it would just increase the complexity quite a bit. And this just seems simpler. We know exactly the size of characters, the number of characters used to depict a move. 4 characters for each move, where 2 for source square, 2 characters for source square, and 2 characters for target square. That is it, always. So that is cool. And if we do want to do some also not storing what moved, because we would know what piece was there at that position. So worrying out complexity now, isn't this already? No. And hello, Kalashi, how is it going on? This is like we have to worry about complexity. If it is already complex, then like we should uh, try to not increase the complexity. Okay, this is running. If we create a new user, authenticated route, create a new user. Oh, user not created because a user already exists named user number 3. Let's create user number 4. Was created. Cool. And now we will go to a protected route. User headers authorization. And A will be small, bearer this. Okay, and take is back. User 4. User ID is 14. So that is cool. Error in where you verifying. So there is some problem in verifying. Helper JWT console.log public key error in verifying. No, there is no error in verifying. Cool. Because we were able to verify. That is cool. Log. Nope. Public key is empty somehow. Log. Who is calling log? Helper. source index. Index is calling log. And if we were now, we just saw that this thing is working. Take is back, whatever it means. Error true, wrong token. Why? Because the key changed, which is messed up. Josh is high. Josh is high. Wait, I don't think I still understand it correctly. Let me get it straight and tell me where I'm wrong in understanding. When the game begins, all the pieces start from the fixed position. Yep, all the pieces start from the fixed position. And yep, and then when you say, let's say, shit, let's go to chesscom, our competitor, uh, some previous games. Let's say there was this game. Okay, now bro played this move. We will store this square and this square. This to tell which piece moved, and this to tell where it moved, and then this. And you can see, like, so far there was, if we were to store only the target square, like you're saying, we store the piece which moved and what position. So we changed the renderer according to the current position, since previous is already known. Since previous is already known, and okay, so like what is the difference? The only difference is that you are saying we should store the piece, and I'm saying the we should store the instead of the piece, instead we should store the source location of the square from which that piece moved. So the first entry, the positions are known. Then for the next, the first entry would be the previous position, and then it would store the current position. So we have the previous position from. Right. Okay, let's find a example. Okay, like in this location, in this move, we have this is our current position, and we are saying on the next move some piece moved here, but there are three pieces which can move here at the same time, right? So to remove that ambiguity, we will also store the location of the source from which that piece moved to this target location. Mm. Yep, that is it. This thing, just to remove the ambiguity. And why are we not storing the piece instead of, yeah, why are we not storing the piece, and why are we storing the source uh, cell from which the move was made? Because there could be again multiple pieces of the same type that could occupy the target square. For example, let's say in our whole chessboard, the target square is this, and the move says rook moved to some square, let's say c7, c7 square. And if you have a rook here and a rook here, which rook moved to this? So just storing the source square and the target square removes all of the ambiguity for each move. Storing both the values would be less, would need less reads to update the position, or else it would increase the reads count and charge money. Okay, if you are like confused about the data set, database, the SQL Postgres database has all the moves as a string, which we will read completely in one go. And in one go, we will have all of the moves at the same time. So we do not have to do any more data fetching when we have all the moves. We will have them in one go. So that is cool. Yep. And the whole game is as a string in the database. Like Here, moves. It is a text which we will read completely in one go, and we don't have to multiple fetch requests to get more moves. We will get all the moves in just one go, which is pretty cool. And plugin. Okay, now, yep, now there are two things which I want to solve. One is, maybe I should use the right tool. One thing being fix the keys. Like here, we saw that this thing was just now working and we were seeing a cool message here. But now this key is not working because we are getting new keys every time. Here, this function runs every time and we get new keys. We do not want that. We do not want that. So we need a source of truth for the keys. How do we have a source of truth? Either we store the key as a file, which which we can. Yes, we should. Yes, which we can. Export const init keys equals async. No, this does not actually take in anything. I think we should make a class instead of separate functions here. Class called GWT. Okay, yep. And here we will say there are two things, a thing called public key, which is a string, and static, and also static private key, which is also a string. And here this function calls the generate key pair. RS 256. Cannot find public key is like legit here. Public key is right here. JWT, okay, because it is part of the JWT class. Okay. And now JWT is not. This dot public key is right here because this is supposed to be static actually. This dot no overload matches this thing. Why? Because this could be null if this dot public key, and then do this. Still no overload matches this function call. Function lacks ending return statement. Return otherwise null. Okay. So, but still, why is this not doing anything? Because the type of this thing is not a string. Okay. What is returned by this? Public key. or like this dot public key is this dot public key, but also await this thing and static async function await public key. Press dot public key. What is the type of this public key? Type of okay, that is crazy that we can write this. Okay, what is the type of this thing? Public key. Web crypto dot crypto key. Oh, web crypto dot crypto key. Why does web crypto not exist? Generate public key. This thing returns promise generate pair results where types dot crypto key. We need to import this thing types dot crypto key, and we can search for the word under yes. Should these things are not being imported anywhere? Types dot crypto key. Okay, import types from shit. We just do here types dot crypto key. Nope, it does not work. Import types types import everything as types from. If you were to do this low level thing here. Okay, now this works. Cool. Types of crypto key cannot find module. Cannot find module now. And you can add this to tell the type to tell TypeScript that it won't be null if you are sure that it's uh, here not null, or like we can just say that it is going to be a payload always this thing. Yeah, we have to check this here. We need a function that will get the keys and write them into a file and write them into a file. Init keys. Yep, a function that generates the keys. Uh, how to, how to get type of this thing. Public key as types type. Okay, we can here import this. We can import this. We can import this. We can import this. Here, go to interfaces. Keys dot ps and here const const public key private key, or we just need one equals generate key pair rs 256. Await this, just get one and say type key type equals type of public key and export key type. Here import key type and say that these two are of key type. This is also of key type. That is pretty cool. And this will say this or private key static async function payload and everything. Export default JWT interfaces keys. Key type is a type and must be imported as a type. Why not? Now that is cool. Now we need someone. This dot key type public and private key equals rest dot private key. But this piece of code will only run if we already do not have a key. Like const key file equals one dot file. Yes, one dot file open shit, yes, okay. One dot file. We can just keep the keys here dot slash keys dot txt. Let's keep the oh, it has no effect. Okay, key file dot text stream keys equals this. Okay, I'll wait. And either this thing is empty or this thing has keys. Huh? So what is the type of this thing? Keys. Keys is of type string. Keys dot length. Then we do something else. Otherwise, we generate the keys and we will write the keys to the file. Keys dot push concat the new string, which is json dot stringify this dot or rest dot Public key is going to be first and keys dot concat, or we don't even have to put this into a key. Yep. Yes. Let string equals of type string concat reason dot stringify res dot res dot public key. But the string is used before it is assigned. Okay, let's assign it as key and public key and then private key and then key file dot write string. Await, and we don't use it. Wait, yeah, we can await. Cool, fine. Await, but if we already have the keys, then wait. Also, stringify this whole thing and then string dot concat new line. Oh, but if the keys are already there, wait. What does write do? Write, does it append or it writes? Write data to file. This is equivalent to using button dot write with line the data to write option to be used for the write. This returns a prompt. So okay, we will see experimenting. Otherwise, split const keys list equals keys dot split at a new line. Split at the new line, and this dot public key is going to be keys list first string. This could be string or JSON Momoa JSON dot pass this thing as key type undefined or maybe not if keylist dot size dot keys list dot length greater than exactly equals to if keys list 0. Then do this key list uh, 1 substitute public with private. But if that is not, this is not the case, then run this whole function, which we can make a separate function. Static async gen new keys, which takes in the bun file, the file, which takes in file key file. Here called then new keys and this key file here JWT. Yes, JWT dot is new keys. Key file. And what is the type of key file? Key file is bun.bun file. Bun.bun file. And if that is not true, here also JWT or then new key given the key file. Okay. Init keys, init init keys. Now now we should be okay, at least from the keys perspective. Maybe not. Sign in found in module. We got this error at index.ts. Sign not found in module. Shit, yes, of course, sign is not found in module. APIs are trying to call this. Instead of sign, call JWT dot sign, and instead of sign again, call JWT dot and where is no wait, no one is calling verify. Okay, middleware is calling verify. Here called JWT dot verify, and here also JWT dot verify, and null might be given. Shit. Key dot text, no such file or directory. Keys dot txt. Correct. That is very correct. Backend. Inside backend, we have to go to helpers. Yep, and here touch keys.txt. Touch keys.txt. And cd source backend helper and dot ignore keys.txt. And if we were keys dot okay shit keys.txt is it dot gitignore nping dot keys.txt source backend helper dot get ignore get it shit keys.txt is still here even though it should not be. Do you want to manually add this to dot get ignore? Let's add this manually. Source backend helper get a status, and the thing is like legit still here. Untracked files, it should not be here in the untracked files. Get a status keys.txt should not be in the untracked files, even though it is here right now. Wait, shit. It is in interfaces? Okay, shit. Cool, cool, cool. We are not getting keys.txt. That is cool. Uh, Single file in Git. How to restore a single file in Git? Git checkout, Git restore file path. And Git status. Cool. So this thing is working. No such file keys.txt in JWT init keys.txt is legit, like right here. Keys.txt is right here. Maybe we have to give a route from the source. No, these things are working here also. Dot slash keys.txt. That is relative route. So now maybe it should work. One. Nope. No such file or directory keys.txt. Helper, we have keys.txt here, which is empty, and that is completely fine. JWT.txt. Bun.file. Uh, Path. Helper. Path keys.txt. Path options. Blob. Fastest system call available for operating on files. This blob is lazy. Size will not be valid. Hello dot slash JSON example log file dot type file dot JSON. Okay. Okay. One dot file. We could write this as a JSON file. that is key neat. You can write this as a JSON file and here. Mr. Text keys is JSON and wait, gen new keys. Yes, what does gen new keys do? This is not a string. This is going to be an object. Public key and private key. Can I find public key and private key? Okay. Public key is this uh, public key, or you could just say dot dot dot. Here that's yep, and JSON file and one. How to write JSON to file? Is the path from root of the die not relative? I thought relative relative should work because like it is working here. Let's see. Let's see. Source, backend, and helper. Inside helper there is keys.json. And also how to write this. Oh, wait, one dot write to this thing. Okay, one dot write instead of file dot write. JSON string. Yeah. So we should have path, I think. Okay, let's have path. Yep, that works. Path, and then instead of this will take in path, which is a string, and here one dot write to this path, write keys. JSON is string. JSON is stringify. Okay. JSON dot stringify, and then when we are reading, we will do unstringify. Dot stringify keys. Cool. And and here we don't even have to read this. We can just say read. Read this in JSON format. Okay. And also if this is being read in JSON format, if key list, don't split, don't even check the length. If keys, keys is object as import this as a shit key type. Nope. We need to add more interfaces to this file. Export interface of keys where we have a public key, which is of type key type, and private key of type key type. Export this, go back, and also uh, keys as type. As keys, if let's see what do we get. Let's see what do we get when we read this. And now we are also using path from the source, so that should be cool. Oh, no, that is what decent, right? Yep, it is working. I thought there might be a like direct function for that. I don't know why, but it doesn't work for me to give the path from wherever the JSON file is from the root. Uh, uh, okay, I like to go. I like how Go use the most obscure name for that, Marshall and Unmarshall. Okay, that is something. But has some very niche features, and I honestly love that. Like that, it even has a native way to read files from S3 bucket. Just also ran. Okay, I don't know what S3 bucket is. And keys. What does keys do? Unexpected end of JSON input, because why not? There is literally nothing in that JSON file, so we should add something. Now we do see JSON. Cool. And there was also no error, and the server is running. Cool. How do we see if keys dot public key and keys dot private key? I think this will give us error. I think that this will give us error because these keys do not exist. Shit. No error. Okay, no. This didn't give us error, so that is cool. That is cool. That is cool. Then new generate new keys at this path. Can we not do this? Yo, and these are like legit empty. That is messed up. Keys are empty. Keys are empty. Keys are empty. Await. Get the keys. Set them here. Console.log. Res. No error because now the keys do exist, which are empty. This should also be a clear function, I think. Clear keys, which doesn't actually take in anything. It just does. Path should be variable here. this dot path and do not give in. Cool. And here this dot one dot right to this dot path empty string right now empty. Cool. We do have public and private key printed, but when we are converting them into JSON, convert keys. Okay. How does keys look? Keys also are filled, which shit JSON dot string. I think we are not making a deep copy. Yep, we are not making a deep copy. How to use JSON dot stringify for deeply, deeply deep objects. Yep, deep copy. JSON dot stringify deep copy. Wait, shit, we are here getting the whole thing, but shit, okay. Deep copying objects. JSON dot parse. JSON dot stringify. London limitations controlling deep serialization. JSON dot stringify. This dot far. That is crazy. Maybe this is not an object at all. Maybe this is not an object at all. Dot private key dot mg. Okay, this is not an object at all. Probably object. How to store crypto key object object in a file dot x. Is there a function dot? No. Type extractable. What is extractable? Wait, maybe this is false extract. What does that mean? Set extractable property to true. When you generate or import the key, extractable property must be set to true. Keys generated as non-extractable cannot be exported as raw material, as this is a security measure to keep them tied to a specific format. JSON for symmetric choose format. JW key dot x key export key. Okay, so when we are generating a key using this thing, this function generate key options. Yes. What are the options? Options are extractable. Yep. We want this to be extractable, quite extractable. Extractable to be true, and then where extractable. Ex- Keys are now extractable. Good. Helper imputability key is now extractable. Types. Choose a format. Common, simple, and widely supported JSON format. JW key. Okay, we can even give a format to this function, it seems. Key options, CRY, curve, OKP, OP, or OKP. Subtype of key pair value to generate the curve must curve whatever it is. RSA, modulus, length, the value used to extractable argument. Default is false. Generated key result will be of type crypto key. Crypto key gets the type of subtle generate key, which has algorithm, extractable, and key usage. Okay, now save and export key as binary key dot export this and give this function the key exported key. Okay, wait, crypto dot subtle key. So we have to import something called crypto import gwk generate new key. Not JWT, but K. Java export JWK. Uh, export JWK. What does it take in? Takes in the key. Okay, just takes in the key. Let's start private key. Let's see what do we get. Promise. That is pretty cool. So when we have exported, how do we import the key? Buffer dot exported. Okay, we have the exported key. Cool. Buffer dot from convert the to a format suitable for file storage. This thing to string use Node.js module to write to a file. Okay. And then how do we read this? Maybe there is also in Jose import JWK. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Once key equals public key is JSON dot stringify export JWK or public key and substitute public with private on the whole line. What do we have here now? This is still again empty. We don't really have anything here. We don't stringify this thing. That would make some sense. Okay, await. Cool. It's good. Uh, okay, now we do have this. Mm, okay, that is good enough. We do have the key now in our file. That is like pretty good. Hello. Structure clone. What is a structure clone? JSON parses method will ruin data of it. You use it. Structure clone F9R deep copy. Structure clone for wait. JSON parse method will ruin dates. Dates. It will ruin dates. Data. Uh, let's see if this is working now. Wait. Does it ruin data? JSON.parse. Does JSON.parse lose info? Shade can result in a loss of information when converting a JSON string into an object primarily due to differences between the data types supported by JSON and capabilities of JavaScript's native. Okay. Uh, structure clone F9R. Step. Structured clone is a built-in native JavaScript method available since 2022 in all modern browsers. Node.js designed to create deep copies of objects and arrays. It handles nested structures, and this it is faster than JSON parse, stringify and parse, and superior to shallow copying. Okay, so this is for deep copying. I want something for this original for copying. This is for copying. I want something to write the JSON object into a file. I think this is working fine here. We get the keys, convert them into some exportable format, and yep, write them down. And here, import the keys as keys. What is the type of this thing? JWK as public key JWK and private key JW. JWK is a type. Get these, and this is the reading part. If the keys do exist, then we have to import them. This dot private key would be equal to file.json. We already have the JSON, so keys dot private key, and put this into. Okay, this is still does not work. Okay, private key. Web crypto or uint array. No, we want just web crypto. Can we give this function some options? Yes, we can give this function some options. Options, key import, options, extractable is true. Types, jwk.type algorithm, options, key. Okay, first thing is the jwk, then string, and then options. But the options, it's just a boolean option. The value of extractable default is false. That's kind of messed up. So this function might return two different things as the type. Okay, and now I suppose we are happy. This dot. Okay, cool. Substitute private with public. If the keys are there in the file, then get the keys from the file. Otherwise, generate new keys. And after generating the keys, write them in the file manually. Let's delete everything and do not call this clear function. Okay, cool. Server running. Let's create a user name 4, 5. Create a user. Okay, okay, that is working. At least we are able to create a user. And let's post an authenticated request. bearer. Okay, and send. Okay, authenticated request user 5 made an. If we stop the server, ally argument is required, which is not present. Where key input dot js line 24 helper line 15 this thing, and there is bit in line 15, but what is the function that is causing the error? jwk to key if no algorithm is required. Okay, rs 256, and the same thing here. Except what shit. Okay, now the server is running, and if this works, this is working. Okay, so we are able to read the same key back, and that is pretty cool. This is a cool plugin, Kulala.newm for testing APIs from Newm. You should try that. Okay, yo, arigato. And koala.newm. What is koala.newm? Should they have their own website, which is in dark. Okay, we write things like this, and here we get the request. Okay, and this is from Neom so that we can make requests from Neom. But if I want to make requests from terminal, I would use something like this, which looks like cool. This looks cooler than koala. Like you have to agree. This is running from a file, but this is a TUI. TUI is just looks very cool. Look at this TUI. I don't know how to use this application yet, hosting, but I will use it later on. And right now, I unfortunately will have to use Postman. Wait, maybe I can just go through its documentation today. This just looks cool. This just looks cool, and this, I have a bias because there is shit sh ssh terminal.sh shit shit yeah shit I went up mm, terminal.shop. Yeah, I said it. Terminal.shop and K we should be like legit ssh terminal dot shop terminal dot shop. Yes, yes, this is also TUI. So our we can like order coffee from our terminal. Newim is better, but yeah, if you have something which is specifically designed for this, look at this. This is TUI. TUI is like better. And yes, I have bias because I like this thing. And also this gives me the illusion that I'm using Linux because TUI, no products are to change region. What is the region? Region is global. We can order things from here. S for shop, shop. No products free. Shipping on US orders above $40. Okay, account. Order history, subscriptions, app, FAQ, and that is cool. We can order some coffee from here. Isn't that cool? King, okay, sub my channel. Hey, King Blaster T8. Okay, like I guess you don't have to say specific yourself. You don't even have anything up here. King Blaster. Let's see. Whenever you have something, I will see what you have. You don't even have our information here. Okay, this is not your channel. Cool. It is all about, yep, preferences. They use Go plus Charm. Charm. Charm isn't Charm. Okay, channel name is Blast X Core. Okay, I don't hi everything. Hi, my YouTube feed. Blast Core S6 is this you that every sun okay you is this you Luffy sketch Luffy sketch of course like yes everyone agrees Luffy sketch is this your channel SS tooth stuff in secret services okay yeah preference fix the keys okay cool done fix the keys have been done we have the same key and now the problem that is fixed is right now the server is running if we stop the server rerun the server and make an authenticated request with some token it works with the same key so that is a plus point cool wait you don't have a video it seems it's just you like which one is you maybe you can send this at the rate thing of your channel at the rate this it is this okay wait is this your channel blast core you got two first one okay that was your channel this one okay I am subscribed and you don't have videos or like only I am the one who cannot see anything sketchy stuff where is your sketches expect sketches and unexpected nonsense E and M okay huh. Maybe in secret okay shit it was because I have a plugin which does not show me YouTube shorts okay now the shorts are there and I am supposing that there is going to be music in this which will demonetize my video but I will subscribe to your channel and I will see your sketches yep. And fix the keys have been fixed that is cool the keys have been fixed okay keys have been fixed now we need to add authentication to WebSockets authentication to WebSockets authentication to WebSockets which yeah sounds cool sound and also a little bit of cleanup would be nice yeah, a little cleanup durability in it const init server doesn't take in anything. And it keys and start listening. And also, does this listening thing take a string, callback string? It does take in a, not a string, but it takes in a function. Console.log listening on backtick because my keyboard somehow cannot print backtick. Listening on my phone. 1 minute. Cool. Server is listening on both this, and I think we can just say app dot port. Nope, we cannot. We have to be capital. Hmm. Yo, are you making chess game? Yep, chess game going on. Just like chess.com. Eventually, there was a pull request here. Bro made this, and in one of the file changes, there was a thing, a line which I liked. The same app.server dot hostname and server dot port. App.server dot hostname on at this dot server dot port, and after adding everything like this thing, do init server used before assigned. Okay, okay, that is lean enough. I think server is listening on localhost 2000, and if we were to make a request, we will get some response. Take is back, whatever that is supposed to mean. Okay, init server is cool. And what else can we clean? Interfaces. I think interfaces is clean enough. JWT payload and keys have a type. User has a type, and ZORD type for user authentication, and helper top get ignored, yes, which is needed. And some errors. JWT, this JWT class, we don't need keys apparently. And this JWT, is everything okay here? Yep, we got three things: path, public key, private key, which are things needed by the functions in this class. This is for initializing, this is for generating new keys. This is for generating new keys. Maybe we can even add a function that would create, renew keys, renew the keys. Okay, one function for verifying and one function for sign in, or not sign in, but sign the keys. Data.ts, just class which extends other classes which have database related methods. Method for creating a user, for verifying a user, for getting a user. And interfaces.ts, user data, plain lists. In memory.ts for the game that are going on, and APIs, access. This is the main thing which imports and starts stuff. Just some tests. This is for authentication. Access for creating a user. Cool. Nothing seems to be extra. This root is extra, and this start game is extra. And okay, who is even using verify? Okay, you are using verify. That is sad. Start. Yep. Now on to the next thing, which is on to the next thing, which is adding authentication on WebSockets. Wait, when will you finish the? Okay, it is going to take some weeks, maybe a month or two, like to learn programming, but I don't know how. Which state? Solid state or UP. And if you want to start learning programming, you can do these things. This is a course by Harvard CS50, and this is pretty cool. This is for beginners, and this is actually pretty cool. King Blaster. There you go. You can take this course. This I think has 12 weeks, and this is the teacher, and he's a very good teacher. All the lectures are also available on YouTube, and this is completely free, and you also get a certificate, which is not very important, but yeah, the material is pretty good, good quality material, and it is tough enough, and enough challenges and enough exercises are there. And 12 weeks. Shit, you are a child. Uh, yeah, so I don't know, like for I think you can even take one lecture every week and do one, like go through the exercises every week, and by the time that you are in college you will be like unstoppable, legit. Like you can become Mark Zuckerberg if you want. If you like start right now, you can, and you also have a lot of time to spare. Shit, you can actually become pretty cool. You have a lot of time right now, uh, before you get to college, and shit, with the right mindset you can become very strong when you get to college, and that is cool. And the sole objective would not be to make yourself better than someone else, but the sole objective would be to make yourself stronger than you currently are, if that makes sense. And yeah, you can just take this. This is cool. This is cool. And this is for total beginners. So yep, cool. And you can mess around with your computer however you want. You can download Linux, and you can even, if you want, in after a few years, you can even take on a very big challenge, which is shit, LFS, Linux from scratch. And this is a very big challenge. If a person goes through this with truth in their heart, they will become strong. Read online. And what happens in this is you manually download packages and everything, and you build an operating system from the start. You do not write code manually. I mean, like, this is the obvious thing for me to do. You do not write code on your own, but you get things from everywhere else, and you combine them together to get your own operating system. And if you do go through this, right now, this is like very daunting. Look at this, like, what is this? What is this? All of these things. Right now, this is very daunting, but in some time, you will be able to do this, maybe in a few years, and it is pretty cool. I want to do this. If I get a spare laptop, I will go through this and it will be pretty cool. Okay, we can generate, we have fixed the keys. Authentication to WebSockets. How do we add authentication to WebSockets now? Okay, authentication to WebSockets. Authentication to WebSockets. WebSockets. Authentication. Write this. Start game is not an object like this. Start game is auth plugin. If this works, then if this works, okay, shit. Remove this. Okay. Auth plugin, add these new routes. Okay, new rapid. Let's try to create a new rapid game in chess. Okay, server is listening with the same key. Cool. And now if we were to create a socket connection, socket, yes, URL localhost new rapid, nothing in the message, but yes, we need this thing, authentication token here, authorization, paste. Okay, yeah, 404, unexpected server response 404. And do we get something on? This is from before. This is from before. This is from, yes, this is from before. We were not able to print this. New slash rapid, no connection. Localhost 2000, localhost 2000, close 2000. Yeah, no. If we are here, authenticated, and maybe the spelling of authorization does not match. It does match. Authenticated, and okay. Server is listening and connection, no connection, and didn't even authenticate. Started to authenticate and didn't even start to authenticate. Okay, so we are not going into on before handle somehow. Are we going into resolve? Shit. We are being stupid. Start game is being exported, but is not being imported here. Okay, shit, that was stupid dot use start game. That was stupid. Okay, now we do have a connection which is authenticated. Started authenticating, authenticated, got a connection, new connection started with the ID. Okay, cool. We can here, how do we give in user pair? No, WS. How do we get context inside this WS thing? Okay, like this. Okay, no, it's not like this. Do you know C++? Yep. You are a chess player. That is pretty cool. Chess, chess is pretty cool. My rating is Elo is 800, but yeah, chess is pretty cool. Yep, I know a bit of C++. I have done things in C++ like competitive programming. So yeah. Yeah. How do we get context inside a WebSocket configuration? Body and query. ws.data.query. Okay. WS has everything. Yo, let's go. User is here. Wait. Yes, cool. Okay, yes. Yes. Console.log with backticks. User this ws dot data dot user dot user name wants to play a rapid game. This user wants to play a rapid game, and here username would be ws dot data dot user dot username and shit. If this thing does exist, then ws dot data dot user dot username. Otherwise, user and here ws dot data dot user dot user ID. If it does exist, then ws user ID. Otherwise, I will and do the same thing everywhere. Instead of rapid, this is bullet game, and here instead of rapid, this is blitz game, and this already is rapid. Okay, okay, okay. Server is running. Let's say we want to play a rapid game. Connect. New user 5 wants to play a rapid game. Authenticated. Cool. We can just delete this one here. No root middlewares. No this random logging server is listening. Connect and new connection started with 15. And wait, who is printing this new connection started with? Started with 15. Okay, add rapid game. Cool. And yep, so we have covered quite a bit. I am 1000 rating. Shade. Can you tell feature of this game? Okay, features like you would just be able to play games. The more I think interesting part, like there is no special features here. The more interesting part is how we are building this. For the user, this will not be like a very cool thing, but for me, the builder, uh, how to figure out everything and establish these normal things, that is the cool thing. The client, the player who wants to play a game, comes, makes a request to the backend, and the backend does some stuff, updates some in-memory variables and checks some things, and then the the player two, second player comes and they also say that I want to play a rapid game. This one also said that I want to play a rapid game, and the backend then starts a rapid game between these two people. And how we are telling each user what the move is which the other user played, and how the game is, how this communication is happening, and how are we going to avoid these players sending false move to the server. All of that is going to be handled by the backend, which is right here. And how we are going to do this, how creating new users is done, and everything, the whole architecture, that is the interesting part. And it is pretty cool. Mhm. And how we are storing data here, we are using SQL for storing the data. And I guess we have today made quite a bit of progress. We have fixed the keys and also, more importantly, added authentication to web sockets, which is like pretty cool, pretty cool, pretty cool. We did both these things, and yep, yep. Thank you. Let's go. And yep, I would be like ending the stream now because I feel a bit sick. And yeah, we have actually done quite a bit today. That is cool. That is cool. We have added authentication. The next step would be to write a function which takes in two WebSockets and it starts a game between these two. Yep, that would be the next thing. And yep, cool. That is it. And yep, we have covered quite a bit of ground today. And thank you for being here. Bye.